shave. Looking clean. Let's go.
What's up?
What's in the can? You know the people want to know.
Oh, pineapple.
Ooh, getting exotic.
I need to call these people, man.
Yeah, they need to call us if we're really being honest.
Yeah, it's true.
What's up, Brett from Stacking Slabs? Okay, Josh, that's not nice to big main Josh. Josh on Instagram, so we're not going to read that one. Liquid Courage. Yes.
Well, maybe the second time this week.
Okay. People are already pouring in. Let's not waste any time. Thank you guys for the questions this week. Got nearly 3 times as many questions this week as last week. So
Boom.
It's always fun. Okay. Big announcement to start the show. Card Ladder's fantasy competition. The entry deadline has passed. If you got your collection in, congratulations. Happy to have you. The leaderboard can be seen at cardladder.com/leaderboard. You can also access it from within your collection. There is a link to view the leaderboard, or you can access it from cardladder.com/fantasy, or you can access it by going to these website links from the dashboard. Okay, let's look at the leaderboard for a second here. Somebody is out to a massive lead. A few people are actually. All right. Narrow this. Okay. So House of Cards is at 16.3K. That is quite impressive. How did he do it? Most of the gains in his collection have accrued to him from very shrewdly selecting this 2008 Topps Chrome Kevin Durant BGS 9.5. It sold at auction. It sold at auction yesterday for $12,300.
Wow.
He'd already made a super smart play with this card because it hadn't sold for 6 months. So it went from its last sold to its predicted price, which was around 10K. And so he timed it just right so that he got the benefit of it switching over into predicted. But he doesn't even need the predicted value anymore because it just sold for $12,400. It's probably not going to sell again. So he is locked in right there with that card. So he's going to be tough to beat. Congratulations. Second place is South Park Cards, young card prodigy. Third is mostly 90s basketball cards. Shout out David. And then we've got some anonymous guys rounding out the top 5. So good luck to all. If you want to see the top 100, you can go to the leaderboard. It only displays the top 100. I was just talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, I can't see my account on the leaderboard, and I had to break to him the reason why. So let's just avoid any awkward conversations. And if you're not in the top 100, you're not going to display on the leaderboard. 2 questions for you, Josh, on fantasy. Number 1, will the winning account be worth more or less than $20,000?
Probably more, dude.
Probably more? Okay.
Yeah, there's just so many entrants. Like, someone's gonna get over that 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got somebody over 16 after 2 days.
I know, but by the same token, cards, like gravity, what goes up must come down. Cards can go down as fast as they come up. So, I don't know. I might take the under. I don't know. We'll see. But the collections are locked. Nobody can fidget with anything. You're just locked into what you got. Now enjoy the ride. All right, one more question. Of all the entrants, will more collections be worth over $10,000 or under $10,000 when it's all said and done?
Well, a lot of collections, like, a lot of people didn't get anywhere near the 10K. They just, like, stopped when they got to, like, $500. So,
Okay, so those guys are having a tough time.
User error would lead me to believe it'll be under. But of people that actually had tried, I think it's going to be over.
Yeah, but if it is under, one theory why. would be people played a strategy like I did, which is you go really big on one outcome. Like I went really big on Giannis winning. And if it works out, great, but it's a high risk, high reward strategy. And I think that's needed when you have a contest with a lot of entrants. So maybe there will be a lot of people who played high risk, high reward strategies, and most of those strategies won't pan out. Okay. All right. Any other card ladder related or other announcements?
We're working on something big.
Oh, yeah. The first question relates to that. So I teed up a good question for that. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. First question is this. From Nonsense Name Cards. If you look at Card Ladder's list of overvalued cards, currently a large percentage of the overvalued ones are high-end and rare. The predicted value of them is based on more common cards, such as the base or a lower grade of a vintage card. We are seeing a shift from more common base cards towards harder to obtain, lower population stuff. Does this mean we should rethink the ratios that are being used, since they are based upon an era when these more common cards were more in demand relative to the more rare counterparts?
We've got some smart users, Chris.
We have some very, I love this question. If you write a question like this, your question is getting bumped to the front of the line every time. This is a great question, right? Absolutely
That's a fantastic question. Yeah. I mean, the question is the answer to me. Yes, we are thinking about that. We've noticed the same trend. And frankly, like, our predicted prices are struggling to keep up with that new trend, and there's only one way to solve for it. And so instead of us mapping to one card, we map to all of them. So we're working on a way to solve that.
Yeah, and it's been a solution months in the making. It required a gradual, step-by-step, incremental approach to building player indexes, and then building out those player indexes, and then sampling different methods and thinking creatively and putting our heads together and trying to solve this problem, because it's a huge problem. The person who submitted the question is exactly right. And so we do have a new feature, perhaps one of our biggest and our very best. It's a new feature, it's an upgrade, and all I can say is that I can't wait to roll this out. Nothing like this has ever been done in sports cards before, let alone done with the amount of transparency and thought that we're going to put into it and display. So very, very excited to solve that problem, which is a huge problem. And the solution actually solves more than just the issue that Nonsense Name Cards raised, which is a very real one. It goes well beyond that, and it ends up doing something incredible for price modeling and sports cards. Very excited for that. Good. Okay. Dodgers 20810 says the LeBron Topps Chrome PSA 10 hit 13K, but now has bounced back to 18K. It feels perhaps like the bottom has been hit with many sports. What do you think about that?
I didn't know about the 18K.
Yep.
That's interesting. I mean, there's obviously a different bottom for each card, depending on, how quickly it went up, how much it's gone down, where the support has been historically. You showed that. I'm just thinking of that graph you showed this week. That was, it was one of the better posts I've seen in a long time, where you kind of showed the cyclical kind of ups and downs of a card, an older card that's seen these ups and downs over the years, and it seemed to be very consistent. Like you showed where it would reach a new high, and then it would come back down to a low, and the low would basically be where the trajectory was originally, and then it would kind of stagger a little bit, flatten out, and then it would go up and down. So like we're sort of in the middle of one of those ups and downs right now, right? Totally. And therefore, the point I was trying to make is that there is a bottom to all of this stuff. Eventually, someone's gonna think like, okay, now it's gone too far the other way, right? And I think this is a good buy now, or this is an acceptable price that I was willing to pay 8 months ago, and is finally back to where it's at, or whatever. Like there's a bunch of reasons that something finds its bottom, in a very complex market where there's a bunch of participants that you can't quite, as an individual, you can't just like point at something and be like, oh, this is where the bottom is. I know for sure. You can look at trends and try to predict based on where support has been in the past. but we're all just guessing, and so it's encouraging, I guess, to hear something like that, like to know that there's people that are still looking to pick up stuff.
Totally. So let me show the graph. Here is the graph. By the way, interestingly enough, the LeBron Topps Chrome PSA 10 is currently ranked number 9 of the 12,000 cards in Card Ladder. That's an impressive ranking. It hasn't been that high in a long time. All right, so this is the graph of the last 2 years. 2 years ago, it was worth $1,000. Okay, cards was $1,000 2 years ago. Lots of growth, but not a perfectly smooth ride up. And then we see the peak here in February and March. And then the card comes down to the 13K value. But look at the trend of late. The trend of late is indeed the card is climbing again. When was the last time that it was at 18K? First of all, it was at 18K on its way down in May. Then it was at 18K during that escalator ride in January of 2021. Those are the only 2 times that it's been 18K. So interesting trend afoot there. Also, not sure if it matters. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But Gary V has, as Mike Pinkerton in the chat points out, there's several people in the chat have put, I need to be looking at the chat. Gary V has announced that he is buying them again and or told people that it was a buy. So that could be a factor too, but it's not just this card either that is rebounding.
Interesting.
Question from Card Collector 1427. I see you in the chat too, by the way, buddy. What are you guys' predictions for the 2003 Exquisite LeBron RPA 99 out of 99 SGC 9.5 with a 10 auto? Are you surprised that the collector graded it with SGC? Also, will this sale have any effect on SGC's values going forward? Josh, what do you think? I'm going to pull up a picture of the card.
I am surprised. Someone's putting a lot of faith in SGC for sure. They historically, they don't have much history of grading the thicker cards like that, which is why I'm surprised. It's not that I want to get into like a grading war of like SGC versus all these companies. It's mostly just, I've always stuck to the companies that have historically graded a certain type of card is usually where I put my faith. That's why I don't just like choose a grading company blindly. I'm choosing based on what I feel is a better fit for the individual card. And I've just never seen SGC traditionally grade, thicker cards with patches and autos. So that's why it's surprising. But I think it'll help SGC overall. Maybe a little bit. I don't know if it'll be, that much.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll pay a compliment to the slab. I think the black does look nice.
Yeah.
With the black strip. Now, I'm pulling this picture from the PWCC Premier auction that is currently live. The card is at $280,000 pre-VP. So already quite a strong price. Also, in case people don't understand this, SGC 9.5 is considered Mint Plus.
Okay.
Mint Plus. That is a different grade than Gem Mint, which BGS 9.5 is. So Mint Plus is like somewhere between a 9 and a 9.5 on the BGS scale. It's like a 9.25. So bear that in mind. Some of the other items in this auction, there's only 66 items. Some of the other ones are a PWCC S, Fleer PSA 10 Jordan, which means according to PWCC, the eye appeal is in the top 5%. A BGS 8, Jordan PMG Red, a 2003 Topps Chrome Black Refractor LeBron PSA 10, a Wilt Rookie PSA 9 with Fleer PWCC E, Jordan Limited Logos PSA 9 from 03 Exquisite, some Brady stuff, the SP Rookie numbered at 1250, a Kobe BGS 10 Gold Refractor, that's a sweet card. Another Jordan Exquisite from 03, Emblems of Endorsements, that's numbered to 15. Graded Authentic with a PSA DNA 10 Auto. Mickey Mantle Rookie, LeBron BGS 10 Refractor. Cool stuff, cool cards. And not by any stretch a loaded auction from a quantity point of view. There's 66 items. And they're also the theory behind them all is they should all be worth 50 grand or more. 66 items, thin auction offering. So
That's good.
pretty
Good
cool.
to see. It's nice to see these smaller auctions again, man, because then the cards that are in them get more attention. And I think it's good. The supply going down is good. It's a good sign. And I saw the same thing from Golden. Their latest auction is much smaller. I know that's because they do the smaller auctions in between their premier ones, but still, I think it's a good sign.
Did you say Golden? We may have had a few questions about Golden.
Just like one or two.
1 or 2 or 10. All right, so before I get to the questions, I'm just going to read them all, and then we can reply to different things that stick out to us. I'm just going to read official reporting on this just to give a little background. So this is from Sports Collectors Daily by the great Rich Mueller, great hobby writer. Collectors Holdings acquires Golden Auctions. The newly formed company that owns Collectors Universe, the parent firm of PSA, is buying Golden Auctions. Collectors Holdings LP announced Thursday morning that it is acquiring the New Jersey-based auction company just a few months after it had received a $40 million investment from the Churning Group and others. Collectors Holdings is owned by a group that includes Collectors Universe chairman Nat Turner. Golden Auctions founder and executive Ken Golden has signed a multi-year agreement to remain in his role. Collectors Holdings and Golden Auctions say that while one company now owns the other, each will continue operating independently and no significant operational changes will occur. In other words, they know you're wondering about what might appear to be conflicts of interest between a grading authentication company and an auction house that's in business selling collectibles for as much as it can. Quote, "We are operating the same today as we did yesterday," Ken Golden told Sports Collectors Daily. "There will be a firewall between Collectors Universe and Golden. I will not get better service and preferential treatment from Collectors Universe. I will still do business with PSA's competitors. I will continue to use SGC and Beckett." Turner, who also owns stakes in other hobby-oriented businesses like Genament, which is adding artificial intelligence to PSA, has maintained that his goal is investing in multiple hobby-related entities to grow them through the use of advanced tools employed in the larger business world where he has made his mark. Turner says, "We are incredibly excited to join the team. With Golden, we will continue to operate independently." Ending quote from Ken. "This is my 40th year collecting and selling cards, and I still absolutely love coming to work every day. Everyone in the hobby knows about the explosive growth we're seeing as new collectors have flocked in, including a younger generation and international buyers. There's no slowing down, and we have a lot planned that we know every collector is going to love." So nice article by Rich Mueller. I enjoy reading his work on Sports Collectors Daily. And now, before I get to the onslaught of questions, let us pause for just a moment and congratulate Ken, Nat, and the good old boys once again. We're congratulating them every few months, it seems, but congratulations to everybody over there on a huge news-making event in the hobby. Anything to add there, Josh, before we get to the questions?
Not really. Nope. Congrats to everyone involved, and get to the questions. Let's see more what specifically people want, because I think everything you said is the facts, and I don't really have much opinion on it other than
we like the facts though. We like to deal in the facts.
Yep.
All right. Card Collecting 82 says the purchase of Golden. Yes. Flippity Flip Card says Collectors Holdings plus Golden equals ? Dormant Stash says Golden acquisition. How will this pan out? Interesting. Mahomes Cards says, please talk about the conflict of interest of one group owning the leading grading company and the leading auction house. Award Winners Autos says, obviously there was some Golden/PSA news. It would be great to hear your opinions. Premier Collectibles says, is it a good idea for a premier auction house like Golden to share the same bed with PSA? Bears Down Boiler Up says, how long until Nat Turner buys eBay and Panini to obtain complete hobby control?
He's not buying eBay, guys. Go look at eBay's annual revenue.
Okay, so this is some of the things that people have in their mind. They're obviously rightly raising the issue of conflict of interest, which the Sports Collectors Daily article acknowledged, as have Ken and Nat, and I'm sure anybody else who issued a public statement on it. They've clearly thought about it, and their company line is that they're going to independently operate the two entities.
Yeah.
So, where would you like to jump in?
I mean, the hot topic there, I guess, is probably the preferential treatment stuff. If I was going to be worried about preferential treatment, it would probably just be like Nat as the collector owning PSA and like giving himself tens. And I've seen him get returns back where he's not getting tens. And we saw the interview on Jeremy's show where he was like, he was pretty upfront that like, yeah, no, they look at the grades, they grade it, I barely even know. I don't know what I'm getting on these grades, and it's a total black box for me. And he's like, I haven't even seen the grading process enough to know. So I would hope that continues here. So, like, my point is that if we haven't seen a preferential treatment for Nat as an individual, I think we'll be okay. And Ken and Nat are both going to say the right thing in this scenario. So we just kind of have to take their word at it, I guess. I mean, that would be a really bad move on their part. If there was like some proof that came out that, hey, this shouldn't have been a 10 and we're seeing all 10s and all the golden auctions, what gives? So that's obviously something that like it would be really unwise on their part to do so. So I'm just going to assume they're not going to do that because, they're smart guys, and that would be really bad for the hobby. And it would benefit the sellers. Like Golden obviously would benefit from getting that preferential treatment, but it's the sellers, right, who are the ones grading the cards. It's not like Golden is the ones collecting these cards. I mean, they clearly would benefit because the prices would be higher, but I don't know. It's that's a little bit putting the cart before the horse, just like assuming negative intent, and I'd like to assume positive first.
It's completely fair, man. Also, I think you're right. Maybe the bigger conflict of interest potential problem happened when Nat, the collector, acquired Collector's Universe. But I'm sure Nat is kicking himself if that was the goal, because PSA has never been tougher to get a 10 than it is right now. So that's like, what?
Harder. Yeah.
I buy the company and now I'm getting all 4s and 5s. The thing that I worry about here, and it's not an indictment or a criticism of any individual involved, it's a macro observation. This could be leading in the direction, as some of the questions, or one of the questions sort of lightheartedly pointed out, of a consolidation of power, a consolidation of wealth, resources, and power, all under the same entity. And while there's nothing inherently or intrinsically wrong with that, this industry has operated quite well without it. If I have one critique of the businessman's approach to the hobby over the last year or two, it's that we're constantly trying to fix things that aren't broken and aren't in need of fixing. And instead of pioneering our efforts in entrepreneurial directions and areas. And so, to me, there's so much money going around in this hobby. It's become so lucrative. Its future is so bright that I understand that there's like a magnet to business that exists. But I do keep an eye fixed on consolidation of power to too large of an extent. So if the domino were to fall of a manufacturer being owned under the same entity that a leading auction house and a leading grading company were owned, now we're starting to really get to a place where the industry is being controlled to a very large extent by the same entity. And so, not that there's anything inherently wrong with that, but we should always keep an eye towards the problems that can happen when power consolidates. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I don't know. It sounds like...
Oh, we have a request to join the stream. Do you mind if I let them in?
Who is it?
It is a very prominent name and the topic of this very discussion.
It's not Ken, then no.
Okay,
Good answer.
Wait, are you letting Ken in?
I did extend an invitation to the
All
man
right.
of the hour. There he
Good.
is.
How you guys doing?
What's
Wow,
up,
here we go.
Ken?
What's
I
up, man?
figured I gotta get you some more users. We'll watch your numbers jump up in a second once my live message goes out.
Thank you,
I'll be
Ken.
watching closely.
I actually wanted to join because I got a couple of, and here they go. I got a couple emails and I saw a comment on card porn, people disappointed Ken sold or he's cashing out. And I just want to make something very, very clear. And thank you for the congrats. I took no cash in this deal. Okay, I could have taken. And by the way, sorry, I actually was lying in bed with my wife, left the room, went in the guest room to do this. So I got my AirPods in. I'm in, got the backdrop, got my T-shirt on. So sorry, I won't pull down the covers and show what's under. But I wanted everyone to know that I could have taken a large friggin' check, or I could have taken stock in Collectors Holdings, which I believe is, basically a barometer for the future of the hobby, because there are a lot of components. There's an auction, there's a marketplace, there's a grading company, there's authentication, there's basically soup to nuts, kind of like GOAT, kind of like StockX. So my viewpoint was that I would rather take stock at the valuation today and look 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and see it 5 to 10 to 20 times that, as opposed to take cash. So I took no money out of the deal. There was a valuation put on Golden. I got that based on stock, and it is, like basically letting it ride, leaving it on black, leaving it on red, whatever your favorite color is, and just letting it ride. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that, because I didn't want anyone to think that, and listen, I was signing Shaquille O'Neal to an exclusive draft pick contract when Nat was a toddler. So if anybody thinks that I am going to change the way I do business, or that Golden is going to be run any differently, it's not going to happen. The other thing I want to point out that you guys very intelligently mentioned is about 99% of the cards that we get at Golden auctions come to us graded.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I mean, you don't have many, except for the big Puerto Rico fine we got in late 2019 that we sold over an 18-month period. You don't see many of these high-end cards that are not graded. So I just wanted to say hi to you guys, make sure everybody knew that. I'm not going anywhere. We're not changing anything. I'm not sitting with a brand new $100 million in the bank account. I am riding it on the future of the business. And to me, again, like I said in one of the news things, is you look at Golden and look what happened to CCG. They were bought by Blackstone, but guess who else is in it? Michael Rubin, Fanatics. So I look at the business and say, am I better off owning a larger piece of a standalone company, or am I better off owning a smaller piece of a much larger conglomerate that really, I look at Collectors Holdings kind of like the S&P of the hobby, because you've got a marketplace, you've got you've got card prices, you've got grading, you've got authentication, you've got some sports memorabilia dangling in there as well. You've got other things coming that I can't discuss, but it is really something that, I was very, very excited about, which is why I did it. So I want everyone to know that, and that was it.
Ken, I have 2 questions.
Sure.
We don't get this opportunity much, so I gotta hit you with some questions.
Uh-oh.
I'm not gonna go easy, Ken. You know how I am. All right, first one. Do you think this is gonna make the update to the website faster? Because you know this, dude. I know it bothers you. It bothers all of us.
Yes.
The site
So,
update. Is this going to help?
okay. So basically, for some of you may remember, I was very pissed off at SAS in February,
Yep.
and I said I'm not running another auction again until my new website is up. And then, of course, my tech team said you may not run an auction for another 6 months, so we changed that. The good news is that we left the old platform a couple weeks ago. We went to Azure. I don't know if people have seen it, but it's been a lot faster. There's been several auctions with no crashes. As far as our own site, you will, if you show up to the event at the National, you will see it.
We will.
And we will have it ready. Ross is probably up, but he's not watching, so F that. But we will have it up we will definitely have it up within the next 60 days.
Great.
Okay, and then there will be an app as well. The app will not come immediately thereafter, but there will be an app.
Well, Ken,
Question number 2.
I have a lot of empathy for building apps, so I chuckle a little bit when your team says 6 months because I've been on that side of it before as well.
Yep. Oh, and by the way, the web, for those saying Azure, our platform will be on AWS. The problem is SAS is, I guess they created it in 2003, and it's like Microsoft based, and it's not something that can go on AWS. And right now, I'm just happy that we're able to support several thousand people trying to bid at the same time without crashing. It's been friggin' great for the past several months.
Question 2 is more of just like giving you an opportunity to say anything you want about the conflict of interest topic because it keeps coming up. We discussed it a little bit. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Sure.
People talk about the grading. I have never, give you an example. I guess Reza is the head of grading. I would not know him if I met him, except I see his picture on the website. I've never spoken with him. I've never emailed him. My understanding is that the graders don't know whose cards they're grading when they are spot checked. The spot checkers know because they've got to make sure it's the right invoice. The graders don't know. And we're looking at a company that we hope one day is worth $10 billion in all seriousness. So it's not something that is even within the realm of possibility. And there are so many hands in between them. It's like Berkshire Hathaway. You look at them and they own 8 different insurance companies. There is, Collectors Holdings to me is going to be the stock market of our industry. And you've got different companies underneath it. My incentive, my compensation is based solely on what Golden does. And that basically means if I'm going to make more money for my business, I'm going to get it graded by a competitor. I'm going to do what's best for my consigners. I work for my consigners, and that's what I'm going to be doing.
One last thing. One of the things that we've talked about is this sort of like corporatization or monopoly occurring. Mm-hmm. And like as collectors, it makes us a little nervous about all these like business moves. So you being like a collector, someone who's been around a long time, why don't you speak to sort of the like long-term focus of how this is going to positively affect us as a hobby and as collectors, knowing that all of these sort of business moves are being made?
Well, basically, what the business moves are going to create competition. Okay, so now you have Collectors Universe Holdings in one end with a group. You've got CCG. It's not going to be the only foot. You've got it's not going to be only shoe to drop. You do have other shoes that will be dropping in the industry. I guarantee you that. You also have Topps, which is now public. You've got Panini, which has been shopping. I'm not under an NDA, so I can say that Panini has been shopping. So you have major corporations going into it. Now, these major corporations, they have quants, they have analysts, they have experts, and they are in it. You put $1 billion to buy a business, and then you go out and you spend $500 million buying other businesses to round it out. You want it to be long term. You're not looking, when you're going out to sell yourself, let me be realistic, okay? And I don't want to pick on any card manufacturer, so I won't say the name. But if you think that, okay, the market is good and you want to sell yourself, you're going to produce the fuck out of every single product you possibly can to goose up your numbers, right? Okay,
Yep.
and you're going to try and get the best price you possibly can. But if you're buying that and you're buying it for a long-term asset and you're an equity fund that has people's money, you're going to make sure you nurture the assets, okay? And that is why, for example, I don't want to get in their business, but that is why PSA only opened up one level, because you know what they can't do? If they wanted to hold hostage another $20 million worth of grading, they could have taken it in and they could have said, okay, you're going to wait 6 months. But guess what? We've captured that. Somebody looking for short term and saying, oh my God, CSG is doing this and SGC is doing this and Beckett's doing this. They would have opened up everything. They would have captured all the cards. Okay. For example, we're coming out with a vault. We actually have a vault already. We have not mass marketed it because we don't want, we don't want, we're not ready with all the software, and we're not ready to promote it and do the way we want to do it Golden Style. So we're soft opening, but we have a soft open. So some of our VIP customers are having it. But one of our competitors heard we were doing it. So what they did was they said, we're going to open up our vault and we're not going to charge anything. We're going to do it free March month. Okay, free March and free April, because what they wanted to do was they wanted to get as much product as possible. They didn't care how low end. They didn't care if you had a $200 card. Okay, they wanted to get it because they wanted to keep it from us. If PSA wanted to stop the people from sending it to the other companies to get grading, they would open up all the services. They'd get another 3-year backlog and say, great, we've got guaranteed revenue for the next 3 years.
Right.
So that's the difference between operating a business on the short term and operating the business on the long term. Oh, something else, I will let you guys have a coup. We're announcing this. I did a video for this, but the video is not going to be ready till Monday. As we talk about different things that create demand, and I saw one of the great things earlier in April. It said, demand meets supply. Talking about some of the cards. So between January, and this will explain a lot of the movement in various prices. Between January 1st and the end of February, we got in 40 PSA 10s. 40 PSA 10 1986 Jordan cards.
Wow.
We are out. So we have one in the current auction. We have one in the July card auction that is following. And then we have one for Golden Elite, which is late August. That's it. We've not gotten a new one in the past 45 days. So what that meant is people saw those prices. They all wanted to sell. Now that they realize they're not going to get those prices, they're holding. We were able to sell about 15 or 20 of those privately into very strong hands. So what happens is you took 14% of the entire population, 14% of the entire population out of the marketplace into new hands at prices that are not going to be selling at 200, not going to be selling at 300, not going to be selling at 400. So I actually did a video where I had about 20 of the fleers laid out in front of me, and we're going through and explaining this process. But I think that because that was one of the leading indicators, that was the first card that spiked too much, and that was the first card that spiked all the way down. I call it a lead, like compared to a market, that's a leading indicator. I think that card is going to be a leading indicator of the bounce back, because that excess supply that wanted to be sold at 400, 500, 350, 600, whatever, is gone from the market. And until the prices get back there again, you're not going to see them in the marketplace. So you're not going to see 286 fleers in the market ever again. And I've also told my staff, if we happen to get 2 or 3 at the same time, we're never running 2 at the same time again.
Did you guys stabilize in terms of supply on everything being sent to you? Because we noticed that you were running massive auctions, and this one that's running right now is a little bit smaller. Do you see the supply sort of stabilizing long term, or are you still getting a lot of stuff?
No, we are we getting it? We're trying hard to get it, but we're trying hard to get, like I'm telling my guys right now, and I know you guys You guys are big basketball guys. I'm telling my guys, get me baseball. Concentrate on baseball because basketball ran hot for 2 years. I mean, 2 years plus. It was the #1 sport. So it has to take a breather. And as you get into the postseason, you don't have LeBron, you don't have the big superstars. Hopefully for people's card collections, whether you love them or hate them, hopefully for card collections, I think the best outcome is the Bucks win championship. Right, you say no, but you're obviously not a Giannis fan. Maybe you want Trey, or maybe you want Chris Paul.
Oh, he really
Booker.
I'm in Phoenix, Ken. I'm in Phoenix. I'm a Suns fan.
Yeah. Don't let him lie to you, Ken. He wants Trey big time.
Okay. Basically, what you're going to have several months, and then in October, November, you're going to have the hype again for basketball. So I want to cool down, because if you look at some of our auctions, 80%. You know something? The basketball cards that are fresh, that people haven't seen in 6 months, that haven't been run in every auction, they do great. We did the Kobe LeBron MSG card. It was like bonkers, because you know why? People hadn't seen that card. Okay, the Kobe logo, man, even though the condition was not great with the white specs, the card went for ridiculous money. I mean, it was unbelievably strong because people don't see it. So people love the hobby. They just get bored of seeing the same card. A LeBron refractor PSA 10 rookie can only be hot so many times in a row. And then oh my God, Golden's got another one. Oh my God, this guy's got another one. Oh my God, this guy's got another one. So those, what I call flagship cards, like the Kobe refractors, the Kobe chromes, the LeBron chromes, the LeBron refractors, those cards, the Fleer Jordans, those cards have drastically slowed down the outgoing supply, which is going to, people are going to get them. They're going to dissipate. I mean, I think right now, literally 60 days, I use the Jordan as an example, 60 days from now, people are going to look at the 86 Jordan and say, where'd they all go? I was waiting, and they're gone. I hope that, and I hope and I expect that it's a very slow domino effect with a lot of these cards that you've been seeing too much of, that, look, we used to all consider as very rare. Look, I remember telling somebody who was asking me, like, what's the best Kobe? And I said, well, if you want a real rare one, there's a pop 63 of the chrome refractor. And then all of a sudden, we get this big price. I get friggin' 12 of them. Okay, I mean, it's great, but I don't want 20% of the world's population of one great card, because it falsely makes people think it's a common card or it's easy to get, and that is not the case. So that's what so that I think that is definitely happening. I think our auctions are going to be great, but they're going to be smaller quantity. They're not going to be 4, 5, 6 of the same great card, or 2 or 3 of the same great but similar card competing with each other. And the other thing we're doing is we've announced a soft announce. By soft announce, I mean like on Instagram only. Monday's going to be the huge announcement, because it's going to be on Barstool Sports itself. We soft announced the Barstool deal. So these guys got millions and millions of followers, and these people spend money like crazy. So they're going to go out and they're going to be pushing cards, and I'm going to be on there. I'm going to be opening up cards with the guys. I'm going to be doing it every month. We have a special deal that we'll be talking about with breaking with some of the ESPN guys, which also, but my goal is always to bring more people in, because the more people you have looking to buy, then the cards are coming off the market. People always used to bitch at me about how do you sell these game used to Panini? Like Topps and Panini buy all your game used jerseys and they cut them up. And I'm saying, do you know what a LeBron James or a Mike Trout or anybody else jersey would be worth if Panini did not cut up 60% of the world's supply? That is what made the demand. for that
Yep.
type of stuff. That's why Brady jerseys are so expensive, because virtually every one has been cut up by these card companies. So we don't want people to cut up cards, but what we do want them to do is go to new homes. We want them to go to homes that are not the same names in every single one of my auctions, winning the same similar lots because they feel they've got to, add to their collection or protect their investment. We want brand new people to own exactly one of that card. We don't want someone to own 5 or 6. We want brand new people to own one and to treasure it and to take that supply out of the market and then look for other things. Whether it's a brand new 2022 box when the product comes out, or whether they look back and say, oh, Miss Jordan, I mean, as crazy as it is, there are people out there that have cards from the 1980s and the early 1990s, and then they have nothing for 20 years. Nothing for 20 years. And then they have a kid and they say, okay, I'm going to start, collecting with my son, or I'm going to start, or whatever. And that's who we've got to get into it.
Yeah, man, hearing this straight from you it's fucking amazing, honestly. Like, just to hear, because no, I'm not kidding, because you have a very important role, Ken, and I'm sure you're obviously aware of that, where you control some of the supplies, some of the stuff, and to hear you sort of like take us through your mindset about how you take that seriously and how you're not trying to, just cash in like you could, I think is important for the hobby to know long term, and hearing it directly from you it's great, man. So I appreciate the honesty.
And look, one of these days when my wife is not so paranoid, I will like take a video and I will like walk through my office in the house, and I will walk through my basement, and people will say, holy shit, I can't believe that's there. But she doesn't like me to show off my stuff. She figures, oh, somebody's gonna come to the house and rob us. Like whatever. But I'm like, no, they're gonna rob Matt Turner first, is what they're gonna do.
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
But hopefully Matt doesn't see this video. I don't know, but he'll probably laugh at the toddler comment. I had to endure my head being ripped off by Thanos Nat, so he can endure my toddler comment about Shaquille, about when I
What
saw
did you think about
Shaquille.
that? What did you think about that? Just very directly, what did you think?
I think he's funny. I do think he's funny. I liked the Star Wars Anakin Skywalker one better with no more crashes.
Yeah.
But it's I can see it, but what they don't understand is these guys would be screwed. The last thing they want is me lying lifeless on the floor. Okay, that's that. I can tell you that I have a key part of this was ensuring that I can be insured for enough money before the deal was done. So I can guarantee you that of every single employee out of all the related companies, I'm going to guess that my life insurance policy they took on me is probably equal to everybody else combined. So yeah, they want me happy and healthy and doing what I do for a long time.
All right, Ken. Well, appreciate the time. This was really great. We should do some of this more often, have you jump on, because, we obviously support you and want you to do the best. So thanks for coming on.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Yep. You too.
Bye.
This was the meme that was referenced.
Dude, he's such a savage, man. He just goes right at it.
He is. Great. So that's the third guest ever in the history of Crossover Live, right? 3. We've had Lefko.
Yep.
We had Josh Luber. We had our friend, the director of the LeBron documentary, and then we had Ken. The fourth guest batting cleanup in the roster. Of
the timing on that one. The timing on that one was perfect. Obviously, this is a bunch of big news, and that's what we do over here at Crossover. We get the names on the shows to talk about the big thing. What did you think? What's your reaction to what happened?
Well, I took 3 or 4 pages of notes on what he was saying. And, what I liked about it was he came out and said the reason he wanted to get on the live, the main reason,
was because he wanted people to know that he has not cashed out,
Yep.
but instead that he is the same extent invested or an equity holder in the entity that he described as the sort of proxy or the stock markets or the S&P 500 of the industry. He wanted people to know that he is still as invested in the hobby with his own personal interests as he ever was. And that's a pretty good reason to hop out of bed and come out alive. Of all the things to want to clear up, that was the one that he cared about the most. So I liked that. What did you think about that?
One of my biggest beefs with like big companies and the monopoly world is, we're all just sort of guessing. So like to have Ken come on directly and just sort of, give him that time to just speak and say everything on his mind. And like you said, where it was clearly something that was enough to get him out of bed to defend himself. And I think we need more of that. We need people coming on, and we've been a pretty niche community for a while. The hobby is we kind of know everybody. And so we sort of have this access to these guys that maybe other industries don't. So I hope we continue to get that transparency. And that was kind of one of my questions to him was like, I'm getting this sense that it's becoming more corporate over time, and we're talking about monopolies now. We've got, investment, seed money, and all this stuff that, if you really think about it, doesn't really affect me as a collector very much, because it affects it when I'm looking to sell or when I'm looking to grade, but like those guys don't have any control over stuff that was created in 2003 that I'm trying to collect. So when I hear all this corporate stuff, it sort of takes the attention away from the cards itself. So that's why I asked the question to him directly, is like, how do you intend to keep things, focused on the long term of this, which to me is still the cards themselves and the collectors and the hobby, like we've talked about a million times in the show. And so it's nice to hear him sort of address that directly, because no one else is going to ask him that stuff. These articles, that they write, they just want to know how much they sold for. They want to know, what sort of new changes the company's making, where the stock moved. Nobody's asking like, how does this affect individual collectors? So, and that's kind of what we represent on the show, is we're trying to be that voice for the people that are here organically and for the fun of it, right? The fun of the hobby. And some of this business stuff is less fun, but I think it can be made fun if we have the right leadership in place to make that the focus.
Yeah, good points. Ken broke 3 pieces of news on this live as well that I'll point out, and then let's see which one we like the best, or if we don't like any of them. The first one was Barstool. Barstool getting involved into the hobby. They're going to be opening packs with Ken every month. He's selling some of those packs on his current auction right now. They're going to be breaking also with the ESPN guys, and that tied into Ken's philosophy of the more we can bring people into the hobby, the better. So that was pretty big news. I think most people maybe knew about that, maybe they didn't. But incorporating the Barstool Network is a new leg of outreach that hadn't happened yet. We know that Bill Simmons and the Ringer Network and the Sports Card Nonsense podcast have come into the hobby. But Barstool now dipping its toe into the hobby is a piece of news. The second piece of news was that Panini has been shopping, which people who have kept their ear to the ground knew that already. There have been sort of wires that have trickled their way through the hobby, reflecting the fact that Panini is soliciting offers for purchase. So that's an interesting tidbit of news to think about. And I think it's worth noting that the entity that's buying entities right now hasn't bought Panini. So take that for what it's worth.
Can I say one thing about the Panini thing?
Yeah.
From personal experience, whenever it's in my mind that I'm willing to sell something, I definitely sell it. It's just a matter of time.
Exactly right.
So Panini will sell.
Yep. It's a great point. And so Ken actually had an observation that I'm going to tie in with that topic, which is that when an entity is looking to goose its figures for the purpose of an acquisition, In other words, the
Mm-hmm.
seller's objective is to goose their numbers prior to being acquired. That's going to happen, but the buyer, especially if the buyer is taking a long-term approach, isn't necessarily going to want that or to see it that way, which makes for an interesting dynamic. I am making some leaps here, but not too large of leaps to think that perhaps the superabundance of product that we've seen roll out over the last few years is in some sense related to this idea of increasing the numbers and increasing the bottom line as much as possible in order to facilitate a sale. So that's something worth thinking about there. But really the value of a manufacturer is completely tied up in the license.
That's right.
If you don't have the license, what do you really have? So the license is going to be absolutely key. Absolutely key. And I think the leagues and especially the NBA and the NFL, surely, they're hearing from Bill Simmons or from Barstool or from any number of these outlets that sports cards is an up-and-coming industry, and it's on fire right now. And that means that license is probably going up in value every day.
I think that could be the one piece of news Panini selling that really gets the fire moving, to me at least, from my perspective, because these other things we're talking about are more infrastructural, selling, grading, the actual manufacturing and producing and designing of the cards, which is again the basis of all of this. If that changes hands, that could be huge, right? It could be negative, it could be positive, it could be the same. There's a ton of different directions it could go, and it's going to have massive waves that affect all these other companies, all these other businesses. So you said that the company that's buying companies hasn't bought Panini yet, but I guarantee you they're interested in it, and they're probably going to want to help facilitate or have some sort of say in how it goes, because they may not purchase it because of some they have their own business direction they want to go. Maybe they feel there's a conflict of interest, et cetera, et cetera. But they're definitely going to want to know where that's going, because whatever decision gets made from that, whoever gets a hold of the license is going to affect them greatly, and it's going to affect all of us as collectors. It's going to affect potential new people entering the hobby. It all starts with the creating of the cards, the designing of it, and then it moves its way on down. They get packaged, they get sold, they get graded, they get sold. So there's all these. It starts from the top there. So that's going to be very interesting. What do you think about that specifically?
I think that's incredibly important, and it would be a seismic event.
Yes.
If there was a changing of the guard in terms of who controls the licenses to the NFL and the NBA in particular here, because that's what Panini controls. That would be a seismic event. It terrifies me to think about that big of a change in an industry that is doing so well right now. Absolutely terrified. I quoted Socrates when we were on, or I didn't quote, but I referred to Socrates when we were on Brett's show, this Stacking Slabs this week. Now I'm going to cite an Enlightenment philosopher named Edmund Burke, who the gist of his philosophy was make damn sure that you can unambiguously improve something before you take the effort to do it. This was important when there were revolutionary thoughts happening and transitioning the way that societies were structured and so forth. And ultimately, that person who's sort of standing adjacent to history and telling it to stop loses. But it's still a philosophy worth thinking about here. Things are going well. Can things go better? Probably. Can they get worse? Probably. So it terrifies me to think about a sudden change. But as you know this from working with me, after a few days go by, I'll think about this. And
yeah, you fucker. Dude, legit, I came up with an idea. No, okay, so we had the idea together. I had an offshoot direction I wanted to go with the idea. And he's like, well, you should do both. Then tonight he's like, let's do exactly what you said. I'm like, dude, what the fuck?
Takes time, man. Takes time. I don't like to rock the boat unless it's getting the boat onto steadier waters. So yep. I do. I worry about that, but I don't know. We can see what happens with that. The other piece of news that Ken announced was that there are major platform updates underway with Golden. He said from a few months ago, 6 months out, a new auction platform. They've shipped it over to AWS, which I think is great. So that's Amazon, right? And he also said that they will be showcasing an app in the near future. So lots of announcements made with respect to the evolution of the software component of Golden. What did you think about these pieces of news?
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Couldn't come any sooner, my friend.
Yep.
But right now they're on Azure. So they made a temporary switch to Azure because the platform they're using is Microsoft, so they could use Azure as their backend. That's why they're not having crashes. The server's scaling better. What I was addressing to him more bluntly was their overall like front end experience, which is what he's saying is it's coming in the next few months, and they will eventually then move the backend to AWS because it's going to be a complete overhaul at that point. So they're probably working on it in parallel to their current site. That's why we're not seeing minor updates, because they're just like building it next to it.
I have a final question here.
Okay.
Thank you for that explainer too on the tech side of things. Final thoughts here. Not something that I even want to ask our guest, or our guest who is now left, but something that I just want to introduce as a topic.
Mm-hmm.
Can Collectors Holdings LP really be considered an index or an S&P 500 of the hobby if they don't own a manufacturer? I don't think so. I think that the manufacturers, which we're talking Panini, Upper Deck, and Topps, but in our case especially, you need to have at least some representation of basketball and football. Can you really be considered an index of the hobby if you don't have that branch of things? Manufacturing product, the distribution of product, right on to the initial entry point, the way that cards make their way. Because if you have grading and you have an auction house and you have a marketplace, you have all the secondary stuff covered. You have the grading of the cards covered. You have the resale of the cards covered. You have the secondary market covered, but you don't have the primary market, the sourcing of the materials. You don't have that covered yet.
And without Card Ladder, what are you? You're just like just making up prices.
Yes, indeed. So, good. That was great. Josh, you were fantastic, by the way. Great. That's all those years of Cardboard Chronicles.
I'm like, yeah, I'll stop talking and let Chris go. And I was just, when those interviews come in, I can't help myself.
Dude, I didn't have any questions for him, to be honest with you. He would have.
Well, you paused. I paused for like 2 seconds once, like too long. We got to keep this guy engaged. I'm not losing him for a second. I got to jump in. Sorry, Chris.
No, you did a great job. He would have been on for about 5 minutes if it were just me, but you served up the questions to him, and it was great, man, because I could tell from the reaction of the chat that people had those questions for him as well, and they wanted to hear his input on them.
Interviews are really tough, man. Like I've watched some brutal interviews. No offense to some of you guys on these channels. I love you all, but some of your interviewing skills are very bad. So you have to ask. Like a lot of people are like, oh, just ask them the really hard questions and like get, but then you're not going to get them engaged, and they're just going to like disconnect and not give you anything. So you have to kind of ask it in a way that makes them comfortable, but also, gets at the heart of it as best you can, and you have to seem genuine in it. So hopefully that was entertaining for everybody else as it was for us. That was great. We love having on the Titans of the hobby, man. Yeah,
and we've somehow retained a good chunk of the people who jumped on just to watch Ken. What's up, guys?
I bet Hoj got some new followers.
Welcome to this side of the hobby. Okay, so are we ready to move on to questions here? I mean, is that the proper flow? Do we want to engage the chat a little bit here? What do we want to do? We've 70 minutes just flew by.
Let's do the chat a little bit, because that was just like a big kind of thing.
That doesn't happen often in the hobby, where
right.
A guy who was at the headline of hobby news this week and really for much of the year jumps out of bed to pop the ear pods in to discuss. And I saw him join the stream as soon as we started. And so I said, okay, Ken's in here. I know what Ken's here for. We'll be getting to this topic in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes in.
You made him wait. Good.
And then he joined. It was great. It was great. You really don't get much better access than that.
What did you think about I had 40 PSA 10 Fleers and now I'm down to 0.
Great topic. 0 in the last 45 days, right? 0 in the last.
Well, he's saying that he sold about half of them privately, and we've seen half through auction. There's none coming after this next round, I believe. I mean, there'll obviously be another one in the future. This isn't the last we'll ever see of it, but we're basically gotten through, if that's the way you want to put it, we've gotten through this sort of wave of supply, according to Ken, that's interesting, man. I mean, that's like mostly the reason the prices went down, because so many damn cards came out to auction. So does that mean prices are going back up, Chris? I need to know.
Well, so here's the thing. So if that many sold, so about 20 sold at auction and about 20 sold privately, or maybe it was something like that, that would help explain why prices went down so quickly, because the buyer base was being cut in half, but it was being done behind the curtain. We couldn't see it, right? We couldn't see those acquisitions happening. If the marketplace everything was public, and we saw twice as many come to auction over the same period of time, but prices stayed at the same level that they're staying at now, and theoretically they might have, because people were buying them privately instead of publicly, we would probably feel more comfortable about the way that the price declined so rapidly. So that was a great piece of information to have. Okay, so 45 days ago, which is when Ken said they stopped receiving 86 Fleers, 45 days ago. That would have been around the middle of May, if I'm doing my month right, my measurement right. So that would be about the middle of May. The card in the middle of May, looking at card ladder here, the card in the middle of May was selling for somewhere between 336 and 378K in the middle of May. The card was around 350K. So what Ken was signaling or communicating there was that when the card got to 350K, nobody wanted to sell it anymore. And the ones that had been sent in for sale had been sent in from the point of view of hoping to cash in at a higher previous price. Mm-hmm. So connecting some dots there, basically the card at 350K was the last price at which anybody wanted to send it to Golden or to an auction house. Well, I can't really generalize about other auction houses, but to Golden was at about 350K. So make of that what you will, but it's an interesting number. Yeah.
The most interesting thing he said to me was when he said that his goal, I don't know if he meant like a personal goal or that's their goal of the business, like from a business perspective, but their goal was to get one copy of these different cards into new collectors' hands, instead of maybe he was giving a little looking behind the curtain of like a few people buying a lot of stuff or protecting their own stuff, which is what we do not want to see, right? Because that can lead to a bubble, and that's not a good scenario. What you actually want is organically new people coming in and trying to obtain these items and get one of them and build their collection, etc. So I thought that was good. I thought that was a very interesting piece that he gave us, and I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's different. It's different. We are in a hobby where hoarding is a strategy, a lifestyle, many things. And I remember the famous pictures of the Mahomes NT RPAs when somebody had acquired over 40 of them, I think 42 of them.
Yep.
That's not abnormal. That has been part and parcel of the sports card market for a long time, is people acquiring massive quantities, especially early on, of cards that they want to go all in on.
That's not what he's talking about. You're talking about a collector hoarding versus like an investor hoarding to protect the price? There's a different. I'm talking about something different.
Yeah, well, the practice is the same. The intention is different. But I think that once again we're talking about potentially rocking the boat, a deviation from the way things have been done in the past, and I'm open to it. And I do like the idea of more and more people coming in. So like that was his philosophy behind Barstool and ESPN outreach as well, is that these are groups with audiences that are primed to like sports cards, probably have nostalgic connections to sports cards, and that would probably be great, vigorous participants in this market. And so that's great. Let's bring them in. But can't we kind of imagine how that might go awry? So they're not used to this industry. Suppose we distribute 50 Fleer PSA 10s to 50 different new people to the hobby, whereas before maybe somebody would have acquired like 10 of them, and then the others would have went to the same old hobbyists who are sort of protecting the price or whatever, or recycling through the cards. Well, what happens if they all sort of get rattled or get nervous? That's why I just worry a little bit about too much newcomers controlling too much of the hobby. But okay, so I have to spell out the skeptical side of it, but in my heart of hearts, I think it's terrific if we can have key cards spread out and forge new collectors, because I believe that when the card gets to the collector, just like Chamberlain said when he made his video appearance with Ken Golden, getting that card makes you feel like a kid again. That was the most poignant line of 2021 by Chamberlain from the studio with the sleepy eyes. Getting the new card makes me feel like a kid again. That's the beginning and the end of cards. And if placing these cards with new people and bringing them in and diversifying the ownership group of these cards is forging new collectors every time it happens, I think that's terrific.
And guess whose role in the hobby just got a fuck ton more important because of all that news about Barstool and ESPN? Content creators.
100%.
Our jobs just got a million times more important. Are you listening, content creators? Stop making fucking pump and dump videos and PSA 10 Prism bullshit. When we expose ourselves to new potential groups of people joining the hobby long term, we start putting out that bullshit content, they're going to fucking flame out super, super quick. They're going to be a short little flame that just goes away real quick because you're going to promise them money and flipping things real easily, and then they're going to get bored of that because it's not working, and they're going to leave. As opposed to creating genuine content about getting people engaged in the hobby long term. This is a challenge to all content creators, you and me included. We're going to have to focus in a little bit more because to be completely honest with you, I'm not sure I can think of a more risky group of people coming into the hobby than Barstool sports fans. That's a group of people who are more so the gambling side of things, just based on the content I've seen from them. It's a lot of gamblers. I'm not sure that they're going to be necessarily as excited about the actual hobby itself. I could be wrong. I could be proven wrong on that. But I think what can happen there is we can educate those folks, welcome them into the hobby, teach them the history of the hobby, all the stuff that we try to do on the show. So that's why I stress, we can't just assume something about a person coming to the hobby. It's up to us to do our best and try to make it more fun for those people coming in.
Yeah, it's a great point. We were talking to Brett, and Brett said that when he came into the hobby, the very first thing he did was he picked out a few podcasts and a few YouTube channels that were going to introduce him, entertain him throughout his hobby experience. And one of the things that I know that this is a problem that you and I didn't have that newcomers do have is that back when we came in, there wasn't these different megaphones of content creators vying for our attention and trying to convince us that this card is the better investment, this card is a better investment, this is the best investment philosophy, this is the best investment philosophy. That the word investment wasn't even, really relevant at that time, or it had a totally different meaning when talking about investment. Investments meant at that time something long-term, something prestigious, something strategic and deliberate and thought out. And now there's content creators standing on every of all of the metaphorical street corners in the hobby. There's content creators standing with their megaphones, trying to bring people in, but they've only been in the hobby for a year themselves or 6 months, and they're learning on the fly. But they're not really bringing you along with a journey. They're positioning themselves as experts. So,
are you talking about collecting or American politics?
the parallels, they're striking, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna build a wall.
So I don't know, man. I think you nailed it. Content is so important. Content's role is underrated. It's understated, and we still undervalued, and we still have many corners to turn in the evolution of content creation. So, yeah, I agree. Never has it been more important that we have good content creation than right now, for the reason that you said.
All right. More questions?
More questions.
Do we have more questions about the next thing?
What do you mean about what do you mean? Questions from pre-show, or questions from the chat on the Golden interview, or what?
I'm ready to move on.
Ready to move on. Good. I saw Lamim pop in the chat. I'm not sure if he's still here, but you got a nice shout out, Lamim, in the Golden interview. So shout out to you, man. Ken had a critique, in fact, of your latest meme. So I'll give you the timestamp on the replay later. All right. Here's a question that dovetails with what we were just talking about. This is from Card Porn. Card Porn says, let's have a discussion about the Real Personal Finance Dad's tweet. And then here's the tweet. If half of your hobby content is bringing other channels down, maybe rethink and look inward. Bringing down others to build your own ego is as old as time, but that doesn't make it any less pathetic. Let's work together to continue to build an awesome community. Happy 4th to all.
I'm not sure what direction I want to go with that. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that, because we should be holding each other accountable and making things better and improving ourselves. And content creators can do that with each other. They can critique each other, and if you have some critique for me or Chris and our content, bring it on, because we've definitely heard a lot of it already anyways. And we don't shy away from criticism. And the only way to get better, in my opinion, is to have people point out your flaws, have people that aren't just going to tell you when things are perfect, right? Tell you when you're messing up, what you need to improve. So I don't necessarily agree.
So if I could put that slightly differently, what if certain content creators should be brought down?
That was me being a little nicer than that, but yeah, that's the next logical step to that. So
yeah, I think there's something to be said there. I have an observation about the hobby that relates to this. And I know what this was like when I was just a part-time participant. Yeah, somebody who spent a few hours a day on the hobby, but professionally, the majority of my time was spent doing something else. And I was never into the hobby deep enough at that time to really grasp all the implications of everything that was happening. So if a bad piece of news came out about the hobby, I would just be like, turn that off. This hobby is supposed to be fun. I just want to enjoy myself. I don't need the drama. If I wanted that, I've got that at work. I've got that in my personal life or whatever. The hobby is my escape. It's supposed to be fun. But now I've been full-time and a professional in the hobby, I've come to realize that actually there are bad actors in this hobby. they specifically plot and scheme to take advantage of the willing blind eye that people like the old me used to want to turn to things. And so in that sense, it's more important than ever that there are accountability mechanisms in place at all times. It's super, super important to protecting the integrity of the hobby. And that extends, without a doubt, to critiquing and criticizing content creators. There's also there's a tough tendency. There's a tendency with investor-oriented young millennials to be super blue skies, super rainbows and pots of gold and glasses half full. There's a huge tendency for those people to just always see things through rose-colored glasses. And those, so they see something new and they just latch onto it and they just think it's going to the moon. Everything's going to the moon, always, forever. And there needs to be a counter to that. There needs to be a little pessimism just to balance it out, just to keep things in check. I've said a lot of things there. I'm embellishing on the point that you made. I do think it's a good one, but I don't want to zag too hard away from the heart of Personal Finance Dad's tweet either.
Well, if he's talking more about, so there's definitely one of the someone in the chat said there's definitely a difference between critique and respect. So I obviously do not condone, disrespecting people, making things personal, getting into people's personal lives, and saying offensive things on their content. I obviously do not condone that in any way, shape, or form. Critiquing is a much different thing, and we need to be respectful of other content creators, but also hold each other accountable in terms of the content we create and the messages we want to send to other people.
Great point. Great point. But to the heart of Personal Finance Dad's tweet, it is true that if somebody is bringing down someone else just to build up their own ego or to steal an audience away, or they're doing it for any reason other than the best interests of the hobby or contributing to a reasonable dialogue, then I totally agree with this. There's nothing good about bringing people down just for the sake of bringing people down. And I agree that is pathetic. And I agree that the community is better when people are working together. We definitely agree with all those things. We kind of brushed past the surface level obviousness of those truisms and sort of went to the zag, which is like, but it's not all blue skies. There are people who are up to BS, and those people do deserve to be called out. All right. Lighter topics. How about that? How about some lighter subject matter?
Please, my God.
Cards and Candy 911, who held us down.
Oh, what's up?
Down last week.
Is that dude? Hey, can we create a question Hall of Fame? I think he might be our first inductee.
I like that. That's going to be a thing. Question Hall of Fame. And he is our first inductee. He says Steph or Dame Lillard. Steph Curry or Dame Lillard. Who has the most collectors?
Steph, for sure, 100%. Stephen Curry.
The Chrissy Buckets counts for like 100 Steph Curry collectors.
There's a Chrissy Buckets shout out from Christina. All right. Cow Cards says, I'm a huge Steph Curry fan and collector.
There you go. It's 1-0.
It seems like his cards are a lot less lucrative than LeBron's, even though he only has one less title. He's also beaten LeBron in the finals 3 out of 4 times. Why?
All right, well.
Hold on, the question's not done. I said, that's the first thing I said to this question. I said, this is going to get the blood flowing. You go, okay, so why doesn't Curry get the same hobby love like LeBron does? For example, Curry NTs versus LeBron's exquisite RPA.
I mean, where do I start? Where do you want me to start?
At the beginning.
At the beginning. Well, I mean, if you want to go straight to the championships, let's see. Curry won 2 of those 3 with Kevin Durant. So, I mean, there's something to be said there. If you just want to go straight head-to-head, before Durant got there, it was 1-1. And the first one LeBron didn't have Love and Kyrie. That's me being a fan, obviously super biased. Take that for what it is. As far as the hobby goes, LeBron's had a lot more time to build up his collector base. He's been in the league a lot longer. He's been sort of he came in as like a superstar right off the bat. You know, we talked about people planting their flag early and like sticking with their player. LeBron was the number one pick in the draft. He's always been, you know, the chosen one, the next Michael Jordan. He's carried the flag for the NBA for almost 2 decades now. He's been the face of the NBA. He's been in the finals, I believe, is it 10 times, 10 finals. His longevity, just the amount of time he's had to build up the collector base, like I said, is just a lot longer than Steph Curry. And that's not a knock against Steph Curry. It's just a matter of like him being older at this point. And you know, he's been doing it from the age of 18 up until 36. It's just what LeBron has accomplished is far greater than Stephen Curry in terms of career accomplishments. He has more MVPs. He has more first team All-NBA. He has more championships. He has more All-Stars. He has every, you know, points, way ahead in points. Curry's never going to come close. LeBron's been doing it for too long. LeBron has way more rebounds, more assists, more everything except threes, right? So like all this stuff, and this is what I've said a bunch about the hobby, is like it's not just, you know, what you can do in 1 year or what you can do in 2 to 3 years. It's what you can do over a really long amount of time because, you know, people are eventually going to catch on to somebody who's done it 15 years in a row. And LeBron has a bigger Instagram following. You know, he's more culturally relevant. He's making movies. All this stuff kind of adds up over a long period of time.
Is that it?
No, but I feel like I've been talking too long, and people are going to be like, well, you just collect LeBron, so, you know.
No, that's great. I think that's exactly the answer that the person who asked the question wants to hear. You heard it straight from one of the preeminent LeBron collectors and objective analysts of the hobby as a whole. I think that was great.
It's the same as if someone asked me, like, why is Jordan more collectible than, I mean, I'm not going to be able to find, because Jordan gave no titles to anyone, the motherfucker. Like, it's hard to find them. Like Magic Johnson, maybe Magic Johnson's a good example. Yeah, it's kind of a similar answer that I'd give there.
Yeah, that's a great comp. Okay. Also, apparently, there's a naming competition going on in the chat. Adam Lefko has introduced 2. Card bladder, which is when you're checking the prices of your cards at the urinal, and card platter for while you're checking card prices after a breakfast burrito. So 2 good entries to this game that I did not know was going on. All right. Let's stay on the theme of basketball topics. This comes from mostly 90s basketball cards. What are you guys watching tonight? Does Team Slovenia live stream its practices? This is a great question, and I think this factored into the energy that was in this room tonight. Nobody had any playoff basketball to watch and give 3 to 4 hours to for the first time in months, right? And then Here we all are. Ken Golden's popping out of bed. Things are going really running strong here. What are we doing? What happens when these NBA playoffs are finally over?
It wasn't card platter. It was splatter.
Oh, splatter? Oh, that's gross. Anyway, I liked card platter much better. Okay.
I watched the replay of yesterday's Bucks.
You watched the replay?
Dude, are you kidding? It's like, what am I supposed to do tonight? No offense to my hockey fans. I did not watch the hockey game, you know, like, it's going to be rough, dude. You know what's going to happen, actually? People are going to start buying cards again. As we know, that when the guys aren't playing, that's when their prices go up, so people are going to start buying cards again, and myself included.
Yeah, I think that's true. Maybe we do need a little time to carve out for hobby energy to reinstate itself. But I am watching Team Slovenia, mostly 90s. Thank you for the shout out to Team Slovenia. 2 wins away from qualifying for the Olympics. And also shout out to him for being the second best in the Card Layer Fantasy Contest. All right. Next question from our GOAT, Cards and Candy 911. The NBA rumor mill. He throws out a couple of rumors, and then we'll reply to any ones that we want to. All right.
Finally.
First one is Kawhi will become a Maverick. Mark Cuban will convince Uncle Dennis. And the second one is a hot take. Lakers will do a blockbuster deal. Anthony Davis for Dame Lillard. The hiring of Fizdale is part of this master plan. All right. You want to say anything about these rumors?
I do. They're both insane.
Yes, they are.
I don't see why Kawhi made such a. I mean, he didn't actually say this, but based on what we know, made such a big deal about going to LA, going home, leaving the comforts of a strong organization and doing it his way. I don't see why he'd give up on that after 2 years and leave one superstar to go join another who, no offense, Chris, Luka needs the ball a lot more than Paul George does. I don't know that Kawhi would want to go somewhere to a team where he's second fiddle to Luka. I just don't see that wouldn't make any sense based on what we know about him today.
No, has Kawhi ever been on a team since he took his superstar turn where he was not the best player? I don't think so. I think that's really important to him to be the best player. And objectively speaking, he was either outdueled or even with Luka during that series. Luka outscored Kawhi during the 38 minutes per game that they shared the floor. Luka had better counting stats, 35 points a game, 11 rebounds a game, and 9 assists per game in that series. But Kawhi was more efficient. He had a higher player efficiency rating by about 2 or 3 points. So going to Dallas at best, it's a 1A, 1B type of thing. I think that'd be really tough to swallow for a 2-time NBA Finals MVP. So that's going to be tough to do.
So I'll do the other one. Am I the only one? I would rather have Anthony Davis than Damian Lillard because I understand, people are taking the short-term approach to this. That's like Davis gets hurt, he's coming off an injury, and then people are frustrated about that, so they'd rather get someone who's more durable and Lillard. But we already know Davis and LeBron can win a championship. We don't know if LeBron and Lillard can win a championship. And Anthony Davis is third all-time in PER behind the likes of Michael Jordan and LeBron James. So I know that the ceiling of Anthony Davis is higher than Damian Lillard. I do respect Lillard's game. He's fantastic. He hasn't quite proven it in the playoffs. There's other, his team hasn't been as good. There's all these reasons for sure. But Davis has proven it, and Lillard hasn't. I'd rather take what I know, what I've already seen. Same kind of answer to the Kawhi thing. I'm just going based off what I see.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And why wouldn't they go after Lillard without giving up Davis? Why don't they just trade everybody else? Go the Nets route.
That definitely isn't off the table. I agree completely. Lillard is not an upgrade from Anthony Davis, at least not in the context of pairing a fellow superstar next to LeBron. That's going to be a tough one to see happen. But
I think Davis is the best. Davis is the perfect fit for LeBron and the way he likes to play. So Lillard, I could see it working for sure, but I don't know. It seems like a overreaction.
Yeah. Plus, why do we need to upgrade the Lakers? This is what kills me about Lakers fans. They're scrambling to invent these miracle trade scenarios. The Lakers were the odds-on favorite to win the NBA title this year. The odds-on favorite.
They're second favorites next year.
And I think the only reason why that is the case is just because there's this overblown concern about the age and the wear and tear on LeBron and Anthony Davis, which will subside by week 2. So I don't think the Lakers need to do much of anything. I think they've already got the pieces in place. What did the Lakers fans just kill me, man? What more do you guys want? You've got 2 of the top 5 at a minimum best players.
Well, you can blame the Nets for that. People just think now I want 3 top 10 players. Can we please talk about the Suns for fuck's sake? You guys make me wait fucking an hour and 40 minutes to talk about my damn Suns making the finals for the first time in 30 years.
Okay, thank you, CZ Cards, for the question. Do you guys have updated finals predictions? Suns, Hawks, or the Bucks? Who are you taking? How long does the series go? Let's use this question to talk about the Suns' success and then make predictions.
I have to talk about Chris Paul because that man had one of the best games I've ever seen live with my own 2 eyeballs. Dude, he was incredible. He had 31 points in the second half, 41 points, 16 of 24 shooting, 7 of 8 from 3. He fucking made DeMarcus Cousins look like the worst defender in the NBA several times. He was incredible, man. He broke Patrick Beverley's brain. All of this happened in one game. He won the series. He's taking my Suns to the finals for the first time in 28 years.
Incredible.
And they didn't make the playoffs last year, Chris. The Suns didn't.
One more stat too. Chris Paul had 0 turnovers. He played
amazing.
35 minutes, 41 points, 0 turnovers. 0. Do you know how crazy that is?
So guess who has the worst win percentage in the NBA over the last 10 years? The Phoenix Suns. And the year they get Chris Paul, all of a sudden they're in the NBA Finals. Now, clearly, the Suns had some luck along the way. Obviously, that goes without saying. And if you look back historically, a lot of these teams have a lot of luck. You can even just pretty much every year, there's injuries. There's something where it's like, if this would have happened, it would have changed it. So, I don't like to get into the asterisk game, but the Suns have taken advantage of it for sure. It's exciting, man. It's exciting to live in the Valley and have the fans just so excited about it because we've been hoping for the Suns to be good for so long, and it's been a disaster, quite frankly. They've been horrible, unwatchable, and to get to the NBA Finals is going to be good stuff.
Yeah, it is. So first of all, after an NBA title happens, a year later, 2 years later, a month later, nobody cares about what the conditions of the title were. Just, did you win the title or not? Because no matter what the conditions were, they were equally applicable to all participants. And sometimes availability is the best ability. All right? But the Suns' path is amazing. So Lakers without Anthony Davis, Nuggets without Jamal Murray, Clippers without Kawhi Leonard, and now there's a real chance that they could either face the Bucks without Giannis or even the Hawks without Trey. Because Trey has a bone bruise, but from my understanding of it, it's pretty equivalent to the combination of both a fracture and an ankle sprain at the same time.
Yeah.
So the Suns might end up playing the Bucks without Giannis or the Hawks without Trey in the NBA Finals and cruise to a 4-0 masterpiece of a playoff. I think they've only lost 2 games or 3 in these whole maybe 4. I don't know. They're like 12-4 or something. 4. Still pretty impressive. 1-9 or something like that.
As a Suns fan, I don't care how they, I don't care how they get the championship. I don't care about any of these little things. I just want a damn championship.
Yeah, and for any of these 4 teams, 3. For any of the 3 teams remaining, if they don't win a championship, that's a huge opportunity missed. Because no matter which team you are, when's the next time that there's going to be an NBA Finals that doesn't have Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, or just one of these killer superstar all-timers? So this is huge. There's going to be a lot of regret for anybody except the team that wins. Pretty exciting, though. Okay, so what are our predictions?
Dude, Suns. I've been picking them since they beat the Lakers.
That's true. Okay. Suns in 4? There we go. Obviously, this is a very tough prediction to make without knowing the health of the superstars in the East. So, a little early to call that one, but I don't know. I wonder what the odds are here.
It's Suns, I think. Stick with your Bucks pick, man. Don't be a little fucking baby.
I'll go with the Bucks pick. I'm already invested in that Bucks pick because that's my Giannis is my fantasy game bet. All right, odds. Oh, okay. The odds tell quite the story. The Hawks are plus 1,200, and for there to be only 3 teams left and to be plus 1,200, ouch. The Bucks are plus 200. The Suns are minus 190. Suns
there we go.
Are huge favorites right now to win. That's pretty exciting. That's pretty exciting. All right.
Come on, the Suns. That'd be so sick. I would just, you call. We were on the phone the other day, and you were like, "Dude, how lucky are you? LeBron championship, potentially followed by Suns." I'm like, "I'll take it, man." I gotta all you can say is, "I'll take it."
That's incredible, man. I try to think of the last time a team that I root for won a championship. And like I colloquially or, you know,
Bandwagon, yeah, we get it.
I
Yeah,
bandwagon for Brady, you know,
sure.
and some, you know, but the Bears, the Cubs, the Bulls. Oh man, it's been
Got
a
a Cubs
forever.
championship. You got a Cubs championship.
We got the Cubs World Series in 2016. We did get that.
That was a good one.
That was
a heart attack inducing
Yeah.
Oh yeah, down 3-1. It was the same year that LeBron and the Cavs came back from 3-1.
Yes, it was. Yes, and that was the year of the Brady Falcons comeback too, if I'm not mistaken.
That's wrong.
Is
It
it?
was 2017.
That was 2017. Maybe even 2018.
No, it was 2017. It was the 2016-17 season for football.
February 5th, 2017.
What?
There we go.
What?
Okay, good. Yeah, it was right after 2016. Got it. Okay.
That's a wild little run there of championships.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Okay. Jesse J. Pender says he's a believer and a fan of CP3 now. Would like to start to collect his cards regardless of whether he wins the title. On a longer-term scale, when would be a good time to pick up some of his key cards? So we've detected a buying advice question. We don't give consultations on investment advice for a number of reasons, but one of the most obvious ones being if the advice is great, hey, good job. The recipient of the advice will say, I was confident, I took this advice and I did the right thing with it. But if the advice is bad or if it goes poorly, then the recipient of the advice will say, how dare you give me that terrible advice? This is your fault. It's really no win situation for the
Oh, I can win it. I'll win it. I'll show you how.
Okay, go for it.
If you are looking to collect Chris Paul, now people are going to be selling his stuff because he's in the news, and some of that rare, cool stuff is going to start showing up more than it ever has.
That's right. And so Josh emphasizes the word collect because there's something higher about collecting. It's about the pursuit, the acquisition of the items, and the concern with short-term fluctuation in value is secondary. But great question from the perspective of you're thinking about collecting CP3, but you want to do it intelligently. And it's a great approach to have. It's like Josh said, a lot of cool, rare CP3 stuff should be coming out right now. But use common sense, intuition. Is there a possibility that stuff is going to be FOMO purchased right now at higher prices than maybe in a few months? Yeah. That's definitely a possibility. Yeah.
Someone's going to chop that clip up and be like, Josh said card prices are going back up. They could have just taken that right there and they could have chopped what I just did. Come on, Lamim. Wake up, motherfucker.
Okay, all right. I think it's middle of the day for him, but okay. We got 15 minutes here. This was a comment that came in from Chris Litzman. He said, please help the world avoid serial numbered cards as the next allegedly safe asset. They just aren't. I think Josh called this out in passing and crossover last week, but it bears repeating. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I do. He's right. I mean, clearly some serial numbered cards are, great collector's items, and people will treat them as such, and they're historic and iconic, but just like the sort of the blind following of like, oh, if it has any sort of serial number whatsoever, that means it's safe. And that's crazy, obviously, to me, because I can't stop thinking about like the fast break blue bullshit of like, oh, that one's serial numbered, I should buy the fast break fucking purple ice whatever the hell because it's numbered to 199. It's a PSA 10. That seems like it should be worth 20 grand. It's like, no, that's not what I meant. Serial numbered. It's just you're never gonna know exactly what's safe as a collector item until you fully understand the item itself and the history of the hobby. There's not like these simple rules. That's what people are trying to grab onto, right? They're trying to find these like very simple things to point to and say, this is what it is. At first it was like anything PSA 10. Next it's like, oh, anything serial numbered. Next it's going to be anything autographed. Like they're just going to keep trying to find these simple things.
Why can't it just be so easy and then we don't have to learn anything about the hobby? We don't have to think critically. Just the purple, orange, green, Blue Ice cracked patch sticker auto out of 245. It checks all the boxes, right? I think that's to the moon.
Say hey card said fast break, purple ice, whatever the hell to the moon.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Say Hey Cards. Okay, thank you, Chris, for the comments.
You talking to yourself? Good job, Chris, reading that question. Very well done. Good. Wait, here's my impression. Good. Okay, moving on.
All right, this comes from Mike N. How concerned are you with the condition of high-end / rare stuff?
I'm concerned. I still take it into account for sure.
So
I
it's
still like,
market-
yeah, I mean, people want a PSA 10 or people want things gem mint, no matter how rare it is, myself included.
Condition still means something, right? It still means the card presents better. It looks nicer. The condition that
Totally.
it's in is superior. That matters.
It comes more down to like what can I afford, depending on what I'm looking for. If I have a choice even, and the second one is just like, do I even have a choice? It's like I want a PMG green, PSA 9. Well, too fucking bad. That doesn't exist. So you're gonna have to get what you can get.
That's right.
Like it doesn't matter only when I don't have a choice. If I have a choice, and it makes sense in my budget, if I think the higher grade would be, if I really want the card as a collector item, but I have a choice to pick between the grade, I'm going to pick the higher grade because it's going to be better, as a financial decision to go along with the collector decision. So it definitely matters.
Out of all the cards in your collection to be passed down to your kids or grandkids, assume that one card in your collection must be passed down to your kids or grandkids. Which one is it? This card comes from Flippity Flip Cards. This question comes from Flippity Flip. You got to pass down one. Which one is it?
The PMG green, Penny Hardaway.
Nice. I'm going with PMG Red MJ. Good. Okay. Had a funny hour 2 question. A few of them. Mahomie Cards says, hour 2 question. Is the Golden acquisition more like Dunder Mifflin buying the Michael Scott Paper Company? or is it more like Dunder Mifflin getting bought by Sabre?
Sabre.
So, and if it's like Sabre, who is the Gabe who is coming over in the acquisition?
I really want to answer the Gabe question, and he will only let me answer the Gabe question if I say the answer is Sabre. So I'm gonna say Sabre. Yeah, Michael was like, he thought it was Sabre. Are you that far yet? Are you that far yet?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's the reverse.
No, it's not. It's called Sabre, but they thought it was called Sabre.
Yes, that's right. They say Sabre in the Christian Slater says Sabre in the video, and they're like, "Oh, Sabre."
Yes, that's right.
Who's the Gabe that comes over? Well, we don't know until we meet him, right? Like Gabe is a total mystery until he shows up.
Yes,
So we don't know who Gabe is.
An Abraham Lincoln-esque mystery. Also, definitely, it could not be Dunder Mifflin buying the Michael Scott Paper Company, because that would imply that Golden Auctions is like just started last week and it's
Right.
no idea what it's doing. So no, it can't be that. Dunder Mifflin is Golden and Sabre is Collectors Holdings.
Yep.
Good. And we don't know who Gabe is because we don't know how many of these personalities are yet to reveal themselves.
Gabe Loki is my favorite. Other than like the super obvious, Jim, Dwight, Michael, Gabe is my favorite character.
Yeah, Gabe becomes much more interesting as season 8 rolls along. Like, because at first he was just this like insecty guy you're supposed to hate. But once you get through season 8,
Are you saying he's a praying mantis?
Yeah. Now
The one where
complicated and good.
the one where they have to caption the drawing that Pam makes, and they all just turn into Gabe jokes. So good.
Oh, that was great. That was one of my favorite episodes. Okay. Award winner Autos has another hour 2 question. Award
Yes.
winner autos. That sounds like a used car shop. Okay, hour 2. No offense to award winner autos. Great name.
Jesus.
Sorry. It's late. Grant me that. Okay, hour 2. Who is the Ron Swanson of the hobby? And I haven't watched Parks and Rec. That's the show that this comes from. So now I have a whole new. Hey, Christina, have you watched it? Okay, well now we have a whole new.
Maybe how about maybe instead of watching Frasier for the 5th time through, you should maybe like expand into other shows.
Oh, that's like saying stop collecting Jordan because there's other players out there. You know.
It's certainly not like that. No, that's not right.
Who is the Ron Swanson?
I was just stalling because that's a really hard question. Someone that doesn't like technology. They like the old way of things. They're very simple, right? I'm helping you. I'm helping you help me. I'll help you help me. They really don't like technology.
Simpletons.
So it's got to be someone like that's been in the hobby for a long time
Okay.
that is very blunt about their opinion on it and is very manly. He's got the mustache. He's got like the very like he's like there's an episode about how he loves the Hoosiers and Bobby Knight because they're very like straight laced and like the whole like Hoosiers persona. So
I'm not sure if it's a compliment to give anybody this title, but I will direct people to the chat because some funny names said in jest have been mentioned.
Dr. Beckett, Harvin. It could be like a vintage baseball collector, maybe.
Is it actually like a compliment to be a
Ron, yes, he is
Then
probably the most popular character on the show.
Okay.
can I then say like John Newman?
I like that. From Sports Card Nation.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
As long as it's a compliment. If not, I'm sorry, John.
There's a whole episode about how Ron is trying to make like a, gosh, what's it called? Like, what's the Cub Scouts? He's trying to make like a Cub Scout thing, but a lot of the kids don't like it because he's way too like dry, and he basically wants them to have like just, all you get is a knife and you got to survive, and the kids want to play video games and they want to like have more fun, and he's not about fun. He's more about like getting the job done. But then he determines later in the episode that there is a group of kids out there that want to do it the Ron Swanson way. So he like recruits like a Ron Swanson type Cub Scout crew of kids. So there is a faction of people that like see his Ron Swanson character and think like, man, I'm like him. I'm more simple. I hate this new crap. You know, I hate technology. I like Ron Swanson. So it is a compliment on that front.
We've all got a little Ron Swanson.
Hold on. I was just going to say, is it Josh Johnson then?
No, I literally am a software engineer. It's not me.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be tech. It could be related to hobby, which then would be like you versus Prism Inserts.
I mean, damn. Oh. Just hold the mirror up to my life, Christina.
We've all got a little Ron Swanson in us. George
We
says
do.
that Ron Swanson would only collect raw cards.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Okay, Sports Cards 1532 wants to know Skybox or Flair Showcase?
Skybox.
Same. Same author. How would you rank Kaboom, Color Blast, Dunkin' Go Nuts, and Jambalaya?
Jambalaya. Kaboom. Dunkin' Go Nuts. Color Blast. I hate Color Blast. It looks like they're farting color bombs.
That's what Christina thinks too. Jambalaya, Kaboom, Color Blast, and Dunkin' Go Nuts tie. We have 3 minutes. Trying to get to quick questions. Quick questions. Okay. Maybe we'll end with this one. In Cardboard Veritas, who implores us to talk more about vintage, says, your rich uncle leaves you significant money, but a stipulation is that you need to player collect Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Babe Ruth, Jackie Robinson, or Mickey Mantle.
Mm.
Do you accept the money? And if so, who do you choose to player collect? And what's your first purchase?
Man,
Define significant.
I do accept. I accept the challenge. I'm between Jackie Robinson and Wilt Chamberlain. I'm trying to think which of those guys would have a better selection of cards, you know? I feel like the answer is, I feel like I'd go Wilt Chamberlain because basketball, and I just don't know. I can't even picture that many Jackie Robinson cards. I want to say Jackie. Like someone in the chat maybe schooled me on him having more better options than Wilt. So if Jackie has more cards that I don't know about that I should, I would choose Jackie Robinson.
Good. I'm going with Babe Ruth because, as was pointed out to me not long ago, no player in baseball has ever dominated both sides of the ball the way that he did, from batting and from pitching. And we do have Ohtani, who's making people think about what it means to be that dominant on both sides of the ball. But Babe Ruth is the GOAT of baseball, or at least of his era, for that reason. By the way, isn't it nice how baseball, which is slightly older, or quite a bit older and more advanced than the other premier sports, has now understood its GOATs as belonging to eras. And it's just, I think it's something we have to look forward to as, these other sports evolve and become more entrenched historically and in culture. But Babe Ruth, and I have no idea what card. I'm not even close to an expert on that.
You know how, if you want to know whether this show is real and, we're about the hobby and Chris and I are the shit, we just picked two baseball dudes over very clear-cut, obvious basketball choices, man. We don't just pick whatever best suits us, right? We try to expand a little bit and think about the hobby.
Hey, Card Porn says that investment question warning, very sneaky. Damn it. They got
invest in Jackie Robinson. Dude, if I feel confident in telling people to invest in something, vintage baseball, it's like, dude, these guys are freaking legends. They've had cards for decades and decades. They've got pricing going back super far. They've broken records all the time in sales history. So, dude, you can't really be, saying anything crazy by telling people to invest in vintage baseball cards.
What a note to end on. Great, unexpected crossover this week. Very unexpected turn. Ironically, we just had tons of questions this week that I only got to get to some of them. Maybe I'll save a few for next week. I don't know. Thank you, everybody, for submitting questions. Thank you to our guest, Ken Golden, for popping in for a while. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
Hour 3?
No hour 3 because of a certain uncertainty about the pendings tonight. Just have time to do all those.
All right, buddy. We'll see you next week. Good times.
See you guys next week.
Card Ladder, the best sports card app on the market. The future of sports cards is here. Card Ladder is the 21st century price guide and market analysis tool for sports cards. The best tools to help you track your cards. Watch the trends, stay informed, compare cards, and track the growth of your personal collection, all in one simple and intuitive platform. Join the innovators, not the imitators. The future is here. The future is now. Card Ladder.